Okay, so let's dive right into this. We're going to unpack one of those really weird, intuitive truths about how people interact. It's something you've probably felt a million times, but never really put into words. And today, we're going to build a complete model of it piece by piece, almost like we're snapping together a set of Legos.
It all kicks off with this simple Dutch phrase. If one starts playing the doctor, the other automatically becomes the patient. I mean, that feels instantly true, right? It's so strange. One person just decides to adopt a role, and the other person, they just snap right into the opposite role, almost without even thinking about it.
But why? What is it that makes that interaction so automatic, so powerful? That's really the core mystery we're going to solve together today. And we're going to look at it from all these different angles, from the perspective of an actor, a sociologist, a philosopher, and even a storyteller.
So let's start by looking at this doctor-patient thing not just as some random example, but as a kind of fundamental blueprint for how we build our entire social reality.
The first Lego brick in our model is this simple idea. Our social roles aren't things we just have on our own in isolation. Think about it. You can't be a teacher if you don't have a student. You can't be a leader if no one is following. And you definitely can't be a doctor without a patient. Our identities are actually co-created in the space between us.
Now, for our next piece of the puzzle, let's jump over to the world of theater. There's this absolutely brilliant director, Declan Donnellan, and he stumbled upon a secret to acting that, it turns out, is also a pretty profound secret about life itself.
Donnellan's huge idea is something he calls the actor and the target. He basically argues that an actor should never try to just be a king or try to feel angry inside. No, instead, their entire focus, 100% of it, should be outward, on their target. What are you doing to the other person on stage? That's the only thing that matters. So here's how that works. The wrong way to play a doctor is to get all stuck in your own head, thinking, how can I act more like a doctor? What would a doctor do? Donnellan says that's all wrong. The right way is to focus entirely on your target, the patient. The very act of trying to heal them is what actually creates the reality of the doctor, for you and for them.
And this is where it just clicks perfectly into place with sociology. Because what Donnellan figured out on the stage, sociologists like Erving Goffman had been talking about in everyday life for years. Goffman called it dramaturgical sociology. This incredible idea that, all the world's a stage, and all of us are just performing our roles. And those roles only exist because other people agree to play their part.
Now, in the theater world, there are two really famous ways of thinking about this. Stanislavski had his magic if, which asked the actor to totally believe in the role to create an inner truth. But then you have Bertolt Brecht, who wanted the complete opposite, an alienation effect that's constantly reminding the audience, hey, just so you know, this is all fake. It's just a performance, a social construction. Just keep those two different ideas in your back pocket. They're going to be really important in a minute.
But here's the thing. Not everyone sees this constant performing as a good thing. In fact, one philosopher saw a deep, deep tragedy in all of this role-playing.
Yeah. So while the sociologists and the theater directors were all busy figuring out the mechanics of performance, the philosopher Walter Benjamin would have probably just been standing at the back of the room, shaking his head with this profound sense of melancholy.
To really get why he felt that way, you need to understand his key concept, the aura. For Benjamin, the aura is that unique, one-of-a-kind presence of something totally authentic. Think about the difference between seeing the actual Mona Lisa in person versus just seeing a poster of it. The original painting has an aura, the copy just doesn't.
And Benjamin would apply this exact same logic to human interaction. He'd ask something like this. If the genuine act of caring for another person, of healing them, becomes just another role that we play, just another performance, then where's the space for a truly authentic, unscripted human moment? Where's the revelation in that?
This slide really breaks down Benjamin's whole argument. For him, the second you start playing the doctor, the encounter is no longer authentic. It's a simulation. It becomes this social script that you can just repeat over and over. And in that process, it loses its unique aura. He literally saw this as the industrialization of our very relationships. Pretty heavy stuff.
So we've got performance as a social tool, and we've got performance as a potential tragedy. Now let's add our final set of Lego bricks and zoom all the way out, because this exact same dynamic isn't just about two people in a room. It turns out it's the engine that drives every single story humans have ever told.
There's this scholar, Christopher Booker, who argued that there were really only 7 basic plots in the entire world. Overcoming the monster, the quest, rebirth, things like that. He said all our stories are just different flavors of these ancient archetypes. And the roles of doctor and patient, Well, they're just modern versions of ancient roles, like the healer and the wounded. And the narrative theorist Svetan Todorov gave us the simple three-step engine for how all these stories work. You start with a state of balance, an equilibrium. Then something happens to shake things up, a disruption. And the whole story is just the journey to a new equilibrium. Our simple little example fits perfectly, doesn't it? Two people are in a room. One decides to play doctor. That's the disruption that creates a totally new social reality. Okay, we've got all of our pieces on the table. We've got Donellan, Goffman, Benjamin, Booker, Stanislavski, Brecht, and Todorov. So now, let's play the Lego therapist and click all of these bricks together into one single cohesive model.
And this table just pulls it all together so beautifully. You can see how each thinker gave us a different Lego brick for our model. Donellan gave us the mechanism. Roles are co-created by focusing on a target. Stanislavski and Brecht showed us we can either fully believe in them or expose them as fiction. Benjamin warned us about the cost, losing authenticity. And then Booker and Todorov showed us that this entire process follows the ancient blueprint of storytelling. It all just fits.
And all of this leads us to the central tension of this whole explainer. It's like two sides of the same coin. On one side, you have Donellan and the sociologists who basically see this constant performance as just how we function. It's a necessary part of being a social human. But on the other side, you have Benjamin, who sees that very same process as the great tragedy of our modern world, the loss of everything authentic and real.
So here's the crucial point, the main takeaway. Whether you see it as a useful tool or a terrible tragedy, every single time you step into a role, no matter how big or small, you're not just expressing who you are. You are actively casting other people into corresponding roles. You are creating a tiny narrative, a little micro-story that literally reshapes the social reality between you.
And that leaves us with this final, really provocative question to think about. We spend so much of our lives trying to get better at playing our parts, as the perfect professional, the parent, the friend. But is it possible that the more perfectly we perform these roles, the further we actually drift from the messy, unscripted, and maybe more authentic reality of just being?